a tremendous victory has been gained for human rights. For those of you who haven't heard, a few days ago, the UN has declared that internet access is now a human right. That's right, as a human being, you are entitled to be able to use the internet. That's a right as a human being. All of this has come about as a result of their decision. And what their decision why they made this decision, as they stated in their studies, was the movements throughout the Arab world using social media, and also they call whistleblowing, but they're essentially referring to Wikileaks. It's because of these revolts in the Arab world and because of Wikileaks that we now have a new right according to the United Nations. This is how it is according to UN Secretary General Frank LaRue. An indispensable tool for realizing a range of human rights, combating inequality, and accelerating development and human progress. Facilitating access to the internet for all individuals with as little restriction to online content as possible should be a priority for all states. The UN report also detailed the tremendous threat that the freedom of internet access is under from governments and other powerful individuals. The vast potential and benefits of the internet are rooted in its unique characteristics such as its speed, worldwide reach, and relative anonymity. At the same time, these distinctive features of the internet that enable individuals to disseminate information in real time and to mobilize people has also created fear amongst governments and the powerful. This has led to increased restrictions on the internet through use of increasingly sophisticated technologies to block content, monitor and identify activists and critics, criminalization of legitimate expression, and the adoption of restrictive legislation to justify such measures. I personally believe that this ruling has come out now by the UN after the Pentagon has now decided that cyber attacks are now considered an act of war, meaning that if a government or some kind of body attempts to hack a US institution like roadways or the Pentagon or a water system or something like that, it's now considered an act of war and can be used as a justification for going to war. See, now the problem with this is that their statement about them doing this does not make a distinction between an attack by a government and an attack by a group of anonymous individuals, meaning it could be just one guy somewhere who does something and it's going to get the same retaliation as an act of war by an aggressive foreign state. Now, obviously, the fact that there is no distinction made seems to believe to me that this is targeted at people like Anonymous and organizations like that, or even Wikileaks. Now, the thing is, have infrastructure attacked, exactly how are you going to prove that infrastructure was actually attacked? I mean, they can't prove anything. You can't prove it didn't happen. They're not going to give you the IP address of the Pentagon station that got attacked by a hacker, supposedly. So, I mean, literally what I think is going to happen is they're going to literally say, we got hacked by whoever it is they want to say it is, and then use that as a pretext for war. And we can't prove it didn't happen. Nobody can prove it didn't happen. So I think this is just going to be like a complete and total abuse of power in order to forward the interests of imperialism. There's also a very interesting effect as a result of this ruling. Because internet is now a right that all human beings are entitled to, this is going to create a hell of a lot of problems for private industry and free market competition. Because what's going to happen when a company denies you their service? Well, you could turn around and go to the UN and say, I've got a human right here that's being violated. Can you back me up with it? I mean, what are companies going to do? Say every internet provider in your area turns you down because of bad credit. Well, they can't turn you down because internet is now a human right. How do you enforce this? How are they going to deny you a service that you're entitled to by law? But the same thing applies with water bills and heating. It's illegal to turn off electricity in the winter months because people could freeze to death and they would die. But now you have a human right to internet access. And there's going to be tons of legislation in all kinds of countries to sort out a situation like this. Because despite the fact that the UN has declared internet access to be a human right, you can be damn sure that big business is going to fight like hell to prevent this from going all the way through. They're going to fight like hell to make sure you don't have a right to the internet.